Are you looking for houses around Springfield, Missouri, where you can literally put no down payment down? I will show you how to do that in this video. Let's go! What's going on, guys? My name is Jesse Weiser and I'm a real estate broker here in Springfield, Missouri, and I have a fun topic to talk about today because we are talking about literally buying houses around Springfield with no money out of your pocket if you play your cards right. And at the end of this video, check out wiserlivingrealty.com where you can literally search all these communities that I'm talking about, and most of those houses will be USDA 0% down payment eligible. And I'm so excited to talk about this topic because who wants to put a hefty down payment on a house? Not me. I like to take all of my money and put it in investments, not into my own personal home. So I will show you guys those communities right now. So what is USDA? First, let's talk about that first. USDA loans is a government program designed to put people in rural areas outside of big cities, which kind of comes down to 20,000 population or under. So to be eligible, there is an income restriction. I don't think you can make over somewhere around 100,000 household. There's also a restriction of so much debt to income you can have. Maybe it's like 41%, maybe it's in the low 40%. So there are some eligibility with USDA, but you can only have one USDA loan at a time, and you don't have to have it as your first time home buyer program. You don't have to be a first-time home buyer. You can be an experienced home buyer. Experienced. You can be someone that has already owned a home. It's designed to push people out of big cities. And I'm gonna tell you all the best communities around Springfield that you can use this loan in. So let's start with the best one, of course. Willard, Missouri. Yes, I was born and raised in Willard, went to school there my whole 13 years. And if you do the math right, yeah, 12th grade as a senior, but you forgot kindergarten. 13 years of school. I am a Willard graduate, and obviously I am Willard proud. Yes, you Republic people, you pumpkin heads. Just kidding, it's all friendly banter, okay? I love all cities around Springfield. I'm just from Willard, and I love friendly banter when it comes to obviously Republic because we're rivals. On to paid programming. So the population of Willard is eligible. Not all of the Willard school districts, because Willard takes some of Westside Springfield as their school district. But let's talk about Willard City itself. It has a population of 6,300, which is a lot more than whenever I was there and lived in Willard. We had about 5,500. So the city is growing for sure. I bought my first house in Willard, Missouri with a USDA loan. I put nothing down and I had the sellers pay for my closing costs. So I literally showed up to closing with no money out of my pocket. That is the name of the game if you want to stay in your home for a while. You can't just expect your home value to go up really fast. So the distance between Willard and Springfield is about 11.9 miles. It takes about 20 to 25 minutes to get to the southeast side of Springfield, like where Target is and stuff, if you live in Willard. I know that because I made the trip multiple times. So let me tell you all the amazing amenities of Willard. It's such a plethora of stuff compared to the other cities, you know, obviously, because Willard's the best. You have Fantastic Caverns in Willard, Missouri, which is, I grew up literally less than a mile away from the entrance of Fantastic Caverns. It was amazing. I lived so close that I'm pretty sure we lived on top of Fantastic Caverns, and that's why we got in for free all the time. We got the neighbor's discount. There's also the Frisco Highline Trail. So that stretches from the west side of Springfield for literally 8 miles down to a little bit past Willard, Missouri. And a lot of people, they bike. Many, and it's all flat, so it's amazing. There is a grocery store. When I was raised, it was called Murphy's. So all of the Willard residents, if you're OGs, you always call it Murphy's. You have the Willard Recreation Center, where there's like Cox Health. They rent a gym in there. You can have like a gym membership. I can talk about Willard all day long. Willard is what's known for its schools. If the schools weren't in Willard, I mean, technically, the city would possibly fail because it's the biggest employer and the big draw for the city. They don't have big corporations like Walmart or anything like that yet. I say yet because I know that they want to grow, but there's some people in that town that don't want it to grow. So it's kind of one of those, if you want a small town feel, but great school districts, Willard, Missouri is your town. Which on niche.com, they put a rating of a B on the schools, which is about the average grade that I got. Next up is Fair Grove. Actually, I was also raised in Fair Grove. My dad owned a place out there, so I'm very familiar with Fair Grove. So the big thing about Fair Grove is their big Heritage Fall Festival, which is in September. Everybody literally goes to Fair Grove in their downtown, and it's huge. So that's what I think about whenever I think about Fair Grove. Their population is pretty small. It's about 1,500 people. Their distance from Springfield is about 23 minutes, 18 miles, but it is super easy drive. Fair Grove is right off Highway 65, so you literally bump right on 65 all the way down into Springfield. I mean, you can actually probably get to Springfield a lot quicker than if you were on the west side because of the easy drive down 65. There are some amenities. There's Price Cutter, which is a little bit bigger of a grocery store than Apple Market. Fair Grove is not that big at all. Like it's a one-streeter essentially. So, and the best way I can describe Fair Grove is it's a little bit more of the country, a little bit more of the country folk as well, and a very small town feel. I mean, Fair Grove is one of those where you know everybody if you've been there a long time. Their school rating is a B+. I actually know somebody that's a teacher there. So it's a great place to buy a house. Now, what you'll realize is Fair Grove City is very small, so the selection of houses is kind of very minimal. But that's where you get a lot of like the acreage properties. So think about 5-10 acres, houses, and that's where you get acreage. Now let's talk about Stratford, which is a population of about 2,500 people. Stratford is kind of close to Fair Grove, so it's still on the northeast side of town, but instead of Fair Grove kind of being off of 65 highway, Stratford is off of I-44. So a lot more traffic going through Stratford. So the distance from Stratford to Springfield is about 20 minutes. Stratford is known more as a trucker town, so semis and stuff like that. And Stratford has the first Buc-ee's ever built in Missouri, and it is in the Stratford district, which is a big deal, like in Missouri, and it's really cool. If you don't know what a Buc-ee's is, they have like 100 gas pumps, and when you go in, there's tons of food. I mean, it's like a vacation almost. It's got amazing bathrooms. Like if you want top-notch bathrooms, that's the place. It's got tons of beef jerky, tons of popcorn options. I mean, literally, if you're looking for food and gas, that's where you need to go. Now, what's great and kind of a hidden gem is the Stratford schools. They have an A- on niche.com. And they're kind of in, I don't know how, Stratford is so small compared to Nixa and Ozark, but somehow Stratford is in the top 3 schools around the area. So getting your kids in Stratford might be a good idea. And Stratford's known, again, small town, so it's kind of hard to find, a normal house like a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage on a small lot. It might take a minute for a house to pop up, but Stratford is known for those big 5-acre, 10-acre plots with a house, which makes the houses a little bit more expensive because you're buying the land. Land is getting expensive around here. Now, we're going around a little bit more. We're gonna go to the southeast side of Springfield, which is Rogersville. Rogersville has a population of about 3,900 people. Now, the thing about Rogersville, okay, this is kind of a hidden market, but it's very expensive at the same time. If you can get into Rogersville, the town itself, it's not as expensive. Remember, it's the same kind of selection as like Fair Grove, Willard. These small towns have a very small selection. And Rogersville is on the southeast side of Springfield, meaning if you get out of Rogersville towards Springfield, wow, do the house prices start to go up tremendously. We're talking like an average of $500,000 to $1 million for homes in that sector, because that's where most of the money is going in Springfield, is southeast. So between Springfield and Rogersville, you have those 5 to 10 acre properties, and then you have gigantic homes on those properties. So the average home price just keeps going up and up and up. So Rogersville, just like all the other smaller cities that are on the first layer out, again, about 25 to 30 minutes, depending on traffic, is how you can get to Springfield. So the amenities is kind of like a normal, basic, smaller town. Again, you have that grocery store, those little bitty coffee shops, and just things like that. And their schools are a B- on niche, but a lot of people do like their schools. But what I've noticed is Rogersville, a lot of people, either you're a die-hard Rogersville fan or you don't really care. That's how Rogersville people talk. So that's the towns that are just a little bit on the first layer. Now I would talk about Republic, Nixa, Ozark, but they are not USDA eligible. They got rid of that whenever those towns started growing a lot more. They used to be USDA eligible, but they got rid of those. So I didn't talk about that, but those towns that I just spoke about are on the first layer around Springfield. Now let's go to the secondary layer. So now we're talking over 30-minute drive into Springfield. So all of these, they're just a little bit out, but still great towns. Now let's talk about Bolivar. Bolivar is known for its university, Southern Baptist University, and that is the majority of the employment there, population there, which means it's a college town essentially. The population is about 10,000 to 11,000 people, and the schools are about a B+ on niche.com. So good schools. Now the thing that I think about with Bolivar, if you want to get down to Target, it's about a 40 to 50 minute drive from Bolivar down to Target. But if you don't mind the drive, there you go. You literally just take Highway 13, which Highway 13 takes you up to Kansas City. But you go from Bolivar down 13 on to I-44 over to 65 and boom, you are there. So one thing I want to talk about with these secondary layers out is the price of land actually goes down more. So as you go out a little bit to, Bolivar, what I just talked about, Ash Grove, Walnut Grove, and I'll talk about a little bit more, you start to get into cheaper land. And that's why people move out to those secondary layers, is because most people that want to move here, they want land and they have a set budget. So they kind of fall into that and they're okay with driving 30 to 50 minutes into Springfield for work. That's why people live out there. They want to be out there in the country. They don't want to step out of their house and, be right next to somebody. They want to be able to pee outside, We will put that in there.
Okay.
So since Bolivar is a university town, there is a big Walmart there and it's crazy busy. I used to sell bread at Sara Lee. Oh my gosh, they would sell so much bread at that Walmart. I think it's all the college students. They also have some pretty good restaurants as well, some good barbecue. So like when you think about a town that's almost self-sustaining, Bolivar is one of those. So that's Bolivar. If you're moving a little bit northwest, so let's go a little bit west of Bolivar, you have Ash Grove. Ash Grove is pretty tiny. It has a population of about 1,500 people. Now Ash Grove and Walnut Grove, I'll talk about Walnut Grove next. Those are extensions of Willard, Missouri. So obviously Willard's the best, of course. But we're talking about Ash Grove and Walnut Grove here. Ash Grove is a little bit bigger than Walnut Grove. Ash Grove is known for its good schools, actually. And Walnut Grove is like population of, there's like 12 people in a class. It's crazy small if you go to Walnut Grove. Ash Grove is about maybe 75 to 100 people in a class. But their schools are about a B-, so they're not bad. The distance from Ash Grove to Springfield is about 30 to 35 minutes, and the amenities are pretty small. As Walnut Grove, which is very close to Ash Grove, it's just a little bit north of it, the population of 650. That's where those class sizes are very small. I went to college with a guy that was from Walnut Grove and he had a class size of 6. Can you imagine? Like your entire high school class is 6 people. My class was 302. 302, and this guy had 6 in his class. Wow. So if you want a super small, one-on-one almost with teacher-student ratio, Walnut Grove is a great one. So just like Ash Grove, Walnut Grove has a B- on niche.com. And Walnut Grove, it's known for its one gas station. Like you go through the town, you're like, you blink and you're past the gas station, you're like, whoa! What I've noticed, a lot of people who live in Walnut Grove probably drive into Bolivar or they drive into Willard for their grocery stores. Remember, it's the second layer out, so these towns get a little bit smaller. So Ash Grove and Walnut Grove are literally probably 30 to 40 minutes out from the southeast side of Springfield where all the shopping's at. But people move out there because they want land and they want cheaper land. So let's talk about Fordland, which Fordland, if you look at a map, is almost the suburb of Rogersville. So we just talked about Rogersville being USDA, Fordland's USDA. The thing about Fordland, it's kind of like Walnut Grove. So you blink and you won't see it ever again. So it's a very small town, but it has some good schools. It's a B rating on niche.com. But the population is 775 people plus or minus. And it's a very, very small town. The distance from Fordland to Springfield, it's about 35, 40 minutes, depending on if you're driving slow or driving fast. Now, a lot of people move out to Fordland because the further you get east of Rogersville, the cheaper the land gets. So let's talk about like Willard, the first layer, Willard, Nixa, Ozark. By the time I'm making this video, land is somewhere between 15 to 20,000 an acre in those areas. Now, if you go out to Fordland, you're talking like 10,000 acres, so almost half the price, maybe even cheaper the further you go out. So that's why people move out to Fordland, and as you go out, Ava and Seymour and Diggins, people don't even know where Diggins is. Nobody talks about Diggins. I'm sure people who are from Diggins, they're like, yeah, he talked about Diggins, but nobody knows Diggins is there. But that is where the land is so cheap the further you go out east. Same goes for west, same goes for far north, and if you go south, you get closer to Branson, and that gets a little bit more expensive. On to Marshfield. So Marshfield is not another small one like we've been talking about. Marshfield is actually its own town, supported by itself. It's got a big Walmart. It's got other amenities. It's got car dealerships. Like, it is its own supporting thing because it is right off I-44. So if you go from Springfield, we're about 40 minutes out when you're in Marshfield. Marshfield, because it's right off I-44, is supported by a lot of highway traffic. So that's why the growth is happening there. Now, Marshfield, again, is a B- school on niche.com. The population is about 7,400 people, which that's a good size. Now, the amenities in Marshfield is there's a ton of parks there. And I've actually sold a few homes in Marshfield. The prices in Marshfield are actually pretty good for homes out there. Remember, the further you get away from Springfield, the cheaper the homes get. And Marshfield is definitely affordable when it comes to those houses in there. So let's talk about Clever. We can't not talk about Clever. Clever is like a suburb of Republic, a suburb of Nixa. I mean, it's kind of over there in between. Again, Clever is kind of like Rogersville. Where Clever, there's die-hard Clever people. And if you don't really care about Clever, you're like, oh, Clever? Didn't even know that was there. Just kidding. We know that Clever is there. But Clever is about 2,900 people in population. They are about 30 to 40 minutes from Springfield because there's not like a main highway or main road that takes you from Clever to Springfield. You kind of got to go through Nixa, or if you take the back roads, it's like... They do have Apple Market, so same as Willard. They have their park, and they have a great school district, and I'm pretty sure the Clever people, they either go to Republic to shop, or they go to Nixa to shop. So it's kind of like Willard, where Willard, they have an Apple Market, but they go into Springfield to shop, just like Clever, Republic, and Nixa is supported. The schools are the lowest out of all of these towns with a C+, but I heard Clever's not bad. So, that is all of the USDA eligible on the first layer out and the second layer out. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. My email and phone number are down below. I want to hear from you. I want to get to know you, and I want to help you if you want to move here. Check out these videos right over here in this playlist, and don't forget, you watch for deer.